Hey guys, welcome to another medieval battle with Midnight Games Online. We are playing Medieval Kingdoms Total War 1212 AD. This is the totally free mod for Total War Attila. And today we have a very special battle for you guys. This is our very first 5-star battle. That is the top score that we give to our battles, the maximum amount of stars. That's based on, number one, entertainment value is the top factor we look for. Number two, a little bit less, but still important, the competitiveness or skill level of the players is always going to be at least above average, if not elite. And third of all, in these battles, we always have the official Blood/Realism DLC running just for the best type of battle experience for you guys. So mostly based on entertainment, this is our very first 5-star battle. So without further ado, let's get into it. We have the brave Crusaders of Antioch trying to hold this river in a winter river cross battle against the Mongol hordes of the Ilkhanate. So one of their historical rivals, if only for a brief time. Again, guys, if you want to fast forward to the battle itself, there's a link in the description with the timestamp. Just click the timestamp in the description, and you will be taken immediately to the part where the battle begins. For those of you guys that want to stick around for the army compositions, we're going to get into that right now. With the first army here, these are the warriors, of the Principality of Antioch. They are the Crusaders, and they are trying to hold this river here against the enemy. So right all around here is the river. This is a cross point, kind of a little shallower area in the river. And let's get through the army of Antioch. This army is commanded by myself. We have some Pulain spearmen here. And again, guys, for this particular battle, it is a high era battle, which means that early era and high era units are allowed with no late era units allowed. In other words, we have 13th century armored units on the field and 14th century armored units on the field. And we can imagine it taking place in the 14th century because there are no later units in the field. Of course, in Attila, you can even play with 15th century units, but we don't have any of those on the field today. So here are the Pulain spearmen. We see 2 units here, sort of the front line, some early era spears to hold the river here. And they're wearing 13th century armor, so they're going to be some of the lighter armored units on the field, but those are the ones that I have in the very front rank. Behind them, we do have the light bow infantry, the foot turtle poles. They are 13th century bowmen for Antioch, and we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the max amount of missiles or archer/crossbow units we could have brought. So here we see them here. These ones are crouching down in cover. These ones are kind of standing out in the open. And there we see them. Now, after these first 2 units of the Pulain spearmen, we have 3 more here in the back. So more light or 13th century spears. They're actually medium spear infantry, but for the 13th century. So they're wearing the 13th century armor here, guys. As we can see, just more or less chainmail. Some of them without helmets, some of them with helmets. And that's 3 more units of those for a total of 5 that I can see. And behind them we have some 13th century armored swordsmen. These are the medium melee infantry for Antioch. The Armenian swordsmen wearing 13th century armor. So some of them with single-handed axes and round shields, really like the Armenian shield. Some of them with swords, as we can see, the straight-edged Crusader arming swords. So we see 3 units of those here in the open, and we do have 1 unit of artillery each in this river crossing battle. My army here has a trebuchet, and we're going to continue on with the heavy melee infantry. So here we see, crouching in the forest here out of sight and hidden from the enemy, we see some 14th century dismounted Knights of Antioch. So these are very cool looking units, some of my favorite units in this game. Very nice helmets, really like the armor here, and the straight edge swords on most of these units. Some of them with steel maces instead. And that is our first unit here. It does have 1 experience point added, which costs some gold, meaning you can take less units, but as a result they're a little more elite. Doesn't make a huge difference, but just a little bit. The second unit of dismounted Antiochian Knights here. And then beside the general, we have a third unit, this one having more experience points, so the most elite unit of dismounted Antiochian knights here, crouching and hidden again in this forest back here, a little bit further back from the river, letting the cheaper troops sort of fight in the river first. And here we see their captain with the sallet, an open-faced helm, colors of Antioch on his shield, and a straight-edged sword. So those are the 3 heavy melee infantry units. We also have some shock infantry. There was a limit of 3 per team. So these are the 14th century Templar Knights here. And they are very powerful, without shields, most of them holding 2-handed weapons. And we see 1, 2, and 3 units here. And again, that third unit, or the first unit I should say, with extra experience points, just like the Knights of Antioch from the 14th century, wearing 14th century armor. These dismounted Templar Knights are wearing 14th century armor and have extra experience points. And here is their captain as well, with his straight-edged swords and the Templar emblem on his shield. So these are very, very powerful units. Some of the most powerful units on the field here, hiding in this forest, if not the most powerful. And then we have some cavalry here. These are the Knights of Antioch, the mounted knights, I should say. Very cool looking unit. And we have a second unit here. And again, a third unit here with an extra experience point. In the forest, we can see the Knights of Antioch here through the trees. And the general. This here is the knight commanding Antioch. And we can see him here a little bit in the shade of this tree. Again, straight-edged sword, and really his whole retinue wearing the color, including him, the colors of Antioch on their horses and on their shields. So that is the knight leading my army, the Principality of Antioch. So here's Antioch, and they're set up trying to hold this river. And I'm sure, again, I don't remember exactly. Some of these battles were a few weeks ago, but I'm sure that these spears are going to move right up to the mouth of the river when the battle gets started. And I think that would be the plan in order to hold against a Mongol horde, which is obviously going to bring some cavalry. Now, Antioch is not holding alone. This is a 2-on-2, and with Antioch, we have the Genoese. So here is the general for Genoa. Open-faced helm for him and a straight-edged sword. And these are the knights of his bodyguard for Genoa. Now back here, he does have some men-at-arms, 14th century armor, so some of the heavier armored units on this field. Here's their captain. Really like some of the details on this shield. Some of them have the little nick here for weapons. Typically you see those with spear units. Sometimes a sword can poke through here and slash and thrust. So very cool looking unit. Our second unit of men-at-arms here for the 14th century. And I'm not sure if that was it for 14th century units. I'm just trying to scan for more of them. That might have been it for his 14th century infantry. So let's look at Genoa, the rest of Genoa's army. He's really stocking up here on these 13th century men-at-arms. So much lighter armor here. They're wearing chainmail. They do have the great helms, which are, and some of them have really cool looking, like this guy has a sugarloaf helm. Very cool looking helm. Some of them with the more sort of basic, old school great helms like this one here. And so these men-at-arms will have just weaker armor than the ones behind them. Still a pretty good skill level, and it won't be easy to take off the battlefield at all. And their armor is not bad, it's just not quite as good as the 14th century armor. So here we see a second unit, a third, fourth, no, actually just 3 units of those here. And then here we have what's called, so those are the heavy melee infantry. Here we have the Spadaccini Guelfo. These are the medium melee infantry. So also wearing 13th century armor, but even lighter 13th century armor. As we see here, they don't have the great helms. They kind of have, several variants of helms, but all of them with open faces. And pretty poor protection, because even a sallet would cover kind of down, below the ear here, but not for these guys. Some of them don't even have helms. So these are some of his other medium melee infantry. He's got a second one, third one here, a fourth, and a fifth over here. So that is the Spadaccini Guelfo, the medium melee infantry. And it looks like he has more here. 1, 2, 3, 4 more here. So if I counted that right, that is 4 in the back and 4. That is 8 of these really cheap units here, guys. Not a bad strategy in a river cross battle when you want to really plug the river with whatever you can in order to prevent the enemy masses just from bubbling across. And this army, the Genoese, the Republic of Genoa, officially controlled by the player, the Suicidal Moose. That was his name. I didn't make that up. Here we have 14th century crossbows. So he's putting money in to his archers here. I went kind of light on the archers, but he is putting money into the 14th century heavy crossbow infantry. Now they do have a little bit worse range than generic archers, but they do have the heavy shields on the back, so they can do a lot of damage and they can soak up damage in return. Second unit here, third unit, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So very interesting choice. I'm not sure I would agree, but he went with 6 units of heavy crossbows, and it looks like he put a lot of experience points into them too. Now, these units aren't going to be terrible in melee. They can actually hold for a long time as well. So in a way, it is good to have archers that can after fight, but they're not very good in melee in terms of killing the enemy. They can sort of hold the line and absorb impact on their shields, but they're not going to cut through anyone. So that's why I personally wouldn't go with this strategy, but it is a viable strategy. Now, we already talked about his general unit. He does have what appears to be 2 cavalry on the field. So let's take a look. These are, and again, the money went into the crossbows. So these are knights, or not even knights, these are men-at-arms wearing 13th century armor. So most of them with chainmail. They do have great helms, which is nice, but just chainmail and a shield and a lance. So that's 1 unit here and a second unit here of mounted men-at-arms. The wearing 13th century armor or early era armor. Here is their captain. Cool looking guy, but not very heavily armored here. Straight edge sword, the nasal helmet. And to complete his army, his 1 artillery is a bombard. So the 14th century artillery here, very good choice for a river cross battle with nothing really standing in the way of the bombard. And now let's take a look at the enemy hordes. And guys, really quickly, let's look at the numbers here in the balance of power. So we have our team, Antioch and Genoa, with 4,972, so less than 5,000 men. The enemy man count is 8,752, so really a big horde of men that is going to try to cross here. Now, my opponent directly across the river here is Billy the Kid. He is controlling the Mongols of the Ilkhanate. So let's take a look at their army. In the front row, we have Georgian auxiliaries here. So they are medium spear infantry. Very exotic looking armor. This looks like the scale mail lamellar armor used by countries such as the regions like those areas near Byzantium and influenced by Byzantium. But on this 14th, in this high era battle, the 13th century armor just a little outdated here. Going to be a little weaker. 2, 3, 4 units of the Georgian auxiliaries in the front row, and he brings another 3 right behind them for a total of 7 that I can see. Now his archers here, 13th century Turkish archers. Interesting looking unit. Very cool. Very exotic. Really like how this game went into detail and actually got historical units. So the Turkish archers here with some extra chevrons on them for experience points. So 3 units of those. Then he has these auxiliaries, and behind them he does have some handgunners. So he brings the handgunners of the Ilkhanate. 14th century handgunners. Now in the 14th century the handgunners were not yet as refined. They're much less accurate and they have a worse range, so it'll be tough for him to get these close enough unless he's very sneaky with it and very strategic and plans it well. But otherwise the archers will just outrange these guys and pick off a bunch of them before they get into firing range. So these are 14th century medium handgun infantry. They do have some armor, as we can see. So possibly able to absorb a few missiles too. Now, did he only bring the 5 missiles? I only see 5 of the missile units, but maybe there's some more hiding. Oh yes, there is another one here in the back. These are the 13th century, the Mongol Fire Lancers, the earliest sort of unit in the game that has gunpowder. The Fire Lance infantry, you can't really see their guns because they're hiding in the ducking down in this long grass here. And beside them, he brings naphtha throwers. So kind of debatable whether these are missiles or not. I usually count them as such, but some players don't. Though he has the 6 missiles plus the 2 naphtha throwers. Now these guys, even more so, I mean, the Fire Lance need to get pretty close. They have very poor range, but the naphtha throwers have even poorer range because they need to literally get close enough to throw their explosives at the enemy. So those are his missiles. Looks like 8 of those units with missile capability. And here we have more just 13th century light armored. So these are even light, even when compared to 13th century units, they are light melee infantry. The Persian foot soldiers of the Ilkhanate. So the Mongols, as usual, recruiting a lot of auxiliary troops to do their dirty work. And here we see very cool looking, but very lightly armored Persian foot soldier with the scimitar and very nice looking round shields. Just amazing colors here, guys. But these guys with their 13th century armor, which is light even for the 13th century, are going to be at a big disadvantage against those 14th century armored knights in Antioch. These are a much weaker troop. 3rd unit, a 4th, and a 5th unit of those here. And now here in the back, he has what's called Karash. I don't know why they're in the back and not the front, but these are essentially meat shields. And the Mongols did use meat shields in their, like human meat shields in their campaigns. They literally grabbed the local populace and made them march onto the next town and put them in the front. And the people on the walls could either fire and risk hitting one of their own, or they would be psychologically compelled to surrender and, you know, beg for the lives of their brethren. So these Karash here, not even wearing any weapons, and they are very light melee infantry. They have no weapons and no armor. There's 150 of them, but they're basically slaves that are made to charge the enemy. They can get a kill or two here or there, but they're literally using their bare fists. So I see 2 units of those, and then more Persian foot soldiers here. Obviously these warriors with weapons. And very light armor. Now here he does bring a Mongol rocket cart. So this is going to be fun to watch. The Mongol rocket cart on this battlefield here. And now with some heavier infantry here in the very back, he has the Tsurig spearmen, which are medium spear infantry with 14th century armor. So we can see, again, very nice looking shields, very cool colors, very historical, and they are going to be much tougher to get off the battlefield. He's also given them a bunch of experience points too to make them just a bit tougher than they otherwise would be. So these are the medium spear infantry of the Ilkhanate. And in the back row we have more Armenian footmen, 13th century armor. Again, the Mongols making use of their auxiliaries, so these are Armenians fighting for the Ilkhanate. 5, 6 units in a row, 7 units in a row here in the back. And here is the Khan, the Mongol Khan. He is with his heavy shock cavalry bodyguard, and we can see him here. There he is, the Khan of the Mongols, of the Ilkhanate. Also known as the Ilkhan. Very cool looking unit. And these are his personal guard. Very cool looking Mongol unit. And he does have extra experience points on that unit too to make them even stronger. And that vaunted Mongol cavalry, do we see it? Well, we have something called the Turco-Persian Pushanders here, but they are a 14th century shock cavalry, so they do have 14th century armor here, guys. As we can see, even the horses wearing some lamellar type armor, as well as these warriors here with the lances. So they have extra experience points granted to them. Billy the Kid did purchase these. And here we have even more. So a second unit with experience points. And that is it for the Mongol Horde. Just a gigantic army. Again, 2 of these units are very close to useless. They can absorb a lot of fire, missiles and such, which I'm sure is part of his plan. But only 300 men, so 150 and 150 really weaponless, and the rest all with weapons, and they do have a almost 4,000 man advantage. So that is very significant here for the Mongol Horde. Now the allies of the Mongols here, the Mongols are bringing some very, very exotic allies to the battlefield here. The player controlling them is, I cannot pronounce his name, but I'm going to try. Kurfürstentum Brandenburg was his name, and he is controlling the Zagwe Kingdom. So the Zagwe Kingdom being brought in as an ally to the Mongols, perhaps as a mercenary, and this is his general. He's wearing 13th century armor, a medium shock cavalry unit. Can I even say that? Deja Zmakgard. Probably butchered that, I'm sure. So let's see if we can find the actual general here. He's usually right in the center beside the banner carrier, but these guys don't seem to be big on banners. Yes, I did find him. So this is the general right here. And that is a very interesting general to see on a frozen battlefield. Small round shield. Looks like some animal skins here, and is that a sword? Yes, a straight edge sword with basically no crossguard, almost like an old Roman style sword, like a gladius here. So horses as well, completely unarmored. So he is wearing 13th century armor, and I think that's pretty generous to call that 13th century armor. And his bodyguard here, the shock cavalry, the Dejazmak guard. I'm going to stop butchering that now. But the general of the Zagwe Kingdom. So this is the King of Zagwe. And he is ready for battle. There he is, King of Zagwe. And now let's see his army here. So he has a ton of spear reinforcements here. We're going to start from the front, nearest the river, trying to cross and gain a foothold. These are the medium spear infantry. They're wearing 13th century armor. And again, pretty generous to call this 13th century armor, but they are going to be some of the lighter units on the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the front row. With a trebuchet here with max experience points. That's interesting. So 7 units there and a trebuchet. And now these units, as you can see, they actually have an ammo bar too. So that's interesting. So that's probably going to help a lot, because you can only bring 6 classic archer units, but these missile units are actually not really missile units. See, they have the spear logo, so he's sneaking some extra missiles on the field. Very interesting strategy, and probably a very good strategy for a river cross battle, to have a unit that can fight in hand-to-hand and have some extra ammunition kills. Now his actual missiles are here. We do see he complies with the 6 missile rule otherwise. And these are 14th century light bow infantry, the Bow Siwa. And they do have some shields strapped to their backs. I don't really see the armor, and they are here barefoot on this battlefield, which I'm sure they want to get this battle over with, walking barefoot on mud and snow. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4 units of them here, and 2 more on that far side there, for a total of 6 archer units. And then we have the more medium spear infantry. This is a different unit. These are called the Akatat, maybe. But again, wearing 13th century Zagwe armor, so very, very poor armor here, and no shoes. So looks like he brought 2 of those. And then now he's upgrading to the units wearing the 14th century Zagwe armor. So let's take a look. See if they are any better armored. Perhaps just better on the padded coats here. But they're going to be a little tougher to get off the field. Still not too impressive compared to their European opponents. But there's 4 units of those here. And again, they have an ammo bar. So these guys, they have the benefit, unlike their European counterparts, of being able to fire projectiles. And I'm not sure if that's going to be a javelin or what. But we will see. So 4 units of those. And in the back, he has more of these Akatat, the 13th century medium spears. 1 unit here, another unit here. That'll be the 4th on the battlefield, the 5th that we've seen. Now the 6th. And these with just a ton of experience points here added. So the Confederate unit, perhaps 7th unit of those medium spears, 8th unit here, again with experience points, 9th, 10th, and are they all 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st. So he's got 21 units of those. Oh, and I actually didn't realize, but these had the same name, so that was my mistake. So the 7 in the front row also had that same name. So I think it might be more like 28 units of those spearmen, because we have 3 of these Gondorian infantry, or 4 of these Gondorian infantry, which are they're wearing slightly heavier armor, the 14th century Zagwe armor, and then the rest are these Akatats, which are wearing the very light 13th century Zagwe armor. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 here. 2 more here, that's 21, and 7 here, that's 28. Yeah, so 28 units of those. That is just a massive amount of spears, with 4 more here. And all of these spears can throw missiles too. So this is actually a very, very strong army, despite the lightly armored units. And as a result, this Zagwe-Mongol alliance has a big man advantage, and that will help them trying to cross this river here against these Crusaders and their Genoese allies. Alright guys, so without further ado, let's get this battle started here. And this cannon looks like it's about to fire. So enjoy guys, our very first 5-star battle with Midnight Games Online. And we do have artillery coming down here, but the trebuchet is going to be hard pressed against the bombard, and it's already taken out 1 of these trebuchets. So the trebuchet did fire here against the bombard. In fact, here we have one of the boulders that was hurled, but the bombard is just a more advanced type of unit. And in the meantime here, we have Antioch setting up here, trying to hold this line. And the snow coming down, guys, on this frozen river cross battle, just amazing. And the bombard fires again. And there goes. Nope, it missed. It missed this time, but it did kill one of the crew. Maybe 2 of them now, 3 of them here. But what you really want to do is take out the trebuchets, because you have to kill more than half the crew to make a difference here. And Antioch has pushed up some spears and is now holding the actual mouth of the river here. So there's only 2 places in this whole river that you can cross from the whole map. Here's the one held by Genoa, and here's the other held by Antioch. And they're really going to try to stop this Mongol horde and the Zagwe attackers from crossing. The archers are now moving up behind these Pulin spearmen. And it looks like there was a shot at the general with a flaming arrow. Excuse me, a flaming trebuchet shot. And he does kill some of the general's bodyguard. And some more there. But the general himself lives. Down 11 men. So that trebuchet just trying to make a difference before it gets annihilated by this bombard. It's down to 2 out of 4 catapult units. And here goes the bombard, trying to finish it. Before it does any more damage. More cannons. And a direct hit there. And he's down to 1 trebuchet out of 4. And he managed to kill some of these archers as a bonus. 3 of them succumbing to cannon fire. Now the Mongols are pushing forward their Georgian auxiliary troops with their lighter armor, as well as some Turkish archers.
Steady.
Now these Pulin spearmen with their 13th century armor are now crouched into their shield wall position. They don't have great armor, but with their shields up, they can soak up some missile damage. You know, the artillery battle continues here. This bombard is down to about 2/3 of its ammo. But the trebuchet, there's only 1 out of 4 left, and it's just trying to get its money's worth at this stage. Firing away at whatever it can, but a miss. Looks like the missile battle has started on this side, with these Turkish archers firing away. And we can see that hail of arrows here, and the archers of Antioch needing to get a little closer in order to fire away. And it looks like, yes, that would be the end of this trebuchet. The crew, just 13 crewmen left, and all 4 trebuchets have been destroyed. Just a massive wreck here by cannon fire. So that cannon has done its job and still has just over 50% of its ammunition left. So very good work here by the Republic of Genoa, controlled by the Suicidal Moose. And here's the army of Knight, myself, just bracing for that attack, but it looks like the skirmish is what's happening first. And these Turkish archers firing away. Some of them getting hit here by incoming arrows from Antioch. Watching cinematic view, guys. This range battle across the river. And that's going to continue, but it looks like they're doing a lot of damage. Only 1 of these Turkish archers dead over here, 2 dead in this unit. But the foot Turcopole is 81 here and 88 here, so 10 and 17 dead. So for now, the Mongols with the superior bulwark on this side. And this artillery crew with 18 kills, so they did land 1 other hit here somewhere after killing 11 of the general's bodyguard, but just not doing enough. They're being ordered to be the front line of defense and sort of offered up as a target. Throwing some taunts here, ankle deep in the shallow part of the river. But for now, it doesn't look like Genoa is going to take the bait and waste any ammunition on that. They said, you want to do something with those guys? Why don't you charge our medium melee infantry? And the Mongols pushing up the Georgian auxiliaries now. Some more kills here now for the Antioch archers, but it looks like there are high era handgunners on the field now, and they've gotten right up to the mouth of the river to try and fire away. And in the meantime, here we do see the Georgian auxiliaries moving in. There are some of the lighter troops here creeping through the river.
Enemy units have returned to the battle,
And they are taking some arrow fire, and already 10 have died. And now a gigantic volley from a trebuchet clips it with 1 of the shots here. let's follow this unit in as they try to march. Well, for now they're being told to hold, and that is not good, as the archers on this hilltop are wreaking havoc on their ranks here, guys. We can see just more going down. Just brutal with this blood slash realism DLC here, but very, very real. And this river quickly bloodying up here. And now they're being told to charge, I think. So we're gonna follow them back through here, charging in against a lot of arrow fire into some Crusader shield walls, and they're just going down, man after man, being picked off. But they do reach the enemy lines, and here we go. More blood in the river here. And this unit now breaking, having not killed a single man actually. The other unit doing maybe a little better with 3 kills, but also breaking.
We're being ambushed!
So the Crusader spears have held for now. But we have some guns firing. And those are going to be targeted immediately. Sneaking those handgunners into range by Billy the Kid here, trying to get a shot away. Getting 2 kills on that unit and a few on this one, but losing a bunch to artillery fire. That was the second shot for that trebuchet, and it does have 20 kills already. It's about 10 kills per shot so far. And now the archers with superior range targeting this handgunner unit. So I would argue not a great use of this unit, and Billy agrees. He pulls these gunners out just as the artillery fires away. Very good move, very good move. But he does lose 25 of them to a combination of artillery and archer fire. Over here we have the spearmen moving up, and sort of, well, it does look like he took care of this artillery crew here after all, this river. They're adding the first drops of blood on this side of the river. Very interesting map here, guys. Just 2 spots to cross this river, as we can see. Shallow river area here. This is not a crossing here, and a shallow crossing here, and that is it. The rest is all deep river, and it really only goes to here. Despite this looks a little more shallow, it's not crossable, so you really can only cross here, and these are the two positions where you can cross. Now, what these Turkish archers are doing, though, is scoring a lot of kills. 64 kills here, 60 kills here, and 27 here. Not as good, but scoring a lot of kills on the archers for Antioch. And some of these units having to pull back because they're just being outgunned so badly. Now, this trebuchet here for Antioch firing away, and a gigantic hit, and the river just turns to ash and blood here, guys. Just incredible. And more men being picked off here as arrows and bodies cause splash marks are all around them. And they try to crawl through this river of blood. And if they do make it to the end, they have to fight some battle-hardened Crusaders, guys. I would not envy these guys. And they break. They break right before they get into hand-to-hand. But the other unit does make it. And a brawl breaking out here, so the Mongol auxiliaries have made it to the other side of the river. And here we have a very nice brawl breaking out. The Crusaders on the right, the Mongol auxiliaries on the left. Mongol Horde trying to push through out of the river, and the defenders, which is the Crusaders of Antioch and the Republic of Genoa, doing their best to hold their riversides. So very nice brawl here again with some of the lighter armored troops from both sides breaking out here. Finally in hand-to-hand, and some of the Crusaders getting cut down now by the Georgian auxiliaries. And 2 more units being pushed up here. These are also lighter armored units, the Armenian swords for Antioch, but it does look like the spears will hold. 93 of the spears here against 77. These ones are very tempted to go help their allies, or their comrades, but they're not going to break formation. The captain says to hold here, and that's what they're going to do, because they do see more infantry coming in from the other side. And this trebuchet with 77 kills already, very, very good. The bombardier with only 21, but it did wipe out a entire trebuchet unit, so that is also very, very good. I would say at least equal in performance so far, given the fact that, you know, those 4 structures of the trebuchet constructs that it destroyed do not count for kills. So these 21 are only like crew and you know, archers that hit it incidentally. Plus it destroyed the actual 4 trebuchets themselves. So very good use by the artillery for the defenders. And honestly, with this type of man difference, almost 4,000 men, that is something that was a necessity. And it looks like these swords have gone for a little flank. And they've hit these Persian foot soldiers in the back, but they've now been flanked as well. So the Pulin spears have charged to protect their flank. And we just have a massive brawl breaking out in the river here, guys. I love it. Oh, just decapitation here. I love this blood DLC. Just for the realism, guys. Oh, look at that. Just beautiful. He kicks over the corpse here. Very medieval, very real. And just a brutal hit by artillery here, guys. And that was, yes, a direct hit against the enemy here. So it did hit the attackers rather than the defending units. And the Georgian auxiliaries are broken. These archers are almost breaking. And the Persian foot soldiers here are breaking as well. More Georgian auxiliaries being sent in here. And from 77 kills in 1 volley, the Trebuchet of Antioch has gone up to 134 kills. So definitely doing a great job here. I do wonder where that Mongol rocket card is. It is here. He's not really deployed it yet. But it seems like they're tired or active, so he's moved them up perhaps. So the Ilkhanate is very patient here with their use of early era troops so far. Early era troops are units wearing 13th century armor, if you want to get technical. And not really wasting artillery, not really wasting their elite troops yet. No cavalry used, none of their 14th century infantry used, 14th century armored infantry used.
The enemy have rallied their units!
And just throwing in lighter armored units and trying to rally them if they do break and throwing them in again. Now the Armenian swords here fighting on the sides of the Crusaders in this river, and just more and more bodies and more blood here. And we do have the handgunners getting involved again and just being absolutely hit by artillery as spears were moving through them. So we do have another 5 of them or so dying, and perhaps more than 20 of the spears, and yes, from 130 something to 166 kills. So another huge hit by the artillery, picking off some handgunners too. So really a discerned effort by Antioch to try to take out the Mongol handgunners. And the Mongol handgunners, unfortunately, they are the 14th century armored unit. They have the 14th century handguns. They don't have the 15th century handguns. So they have to get very close in order to use them. Just a brutal spear shot. Oh, another huge hit by artillery here in the river. And again, in this shallow part of the river, this explosive shot, just burning bodies. But some of the Crusader units starting to break against this massive amount of men. Here, this shield wall is going to be hit as well. And I think, are these troops of Zagwe? Yes, the Kingdom of Zagwe here helping out their Mongol allies with a few troops. And now Zagwe
running for their lives,
trying to break through this side here against Antioch. That is interesting. So a bit of a 2-on-1 happening here in Antioch, just holding for now with spearmen. The lighter armored spearmen wearing 13th century armor.
That's it.
We do have some units rallying. We have a unit that ran through the shallows here that rallied, but they're immediately going to be attacked by some Armenian swords. And some of them just being knocked downhill by the charge. And they do break. Excuse me, they do shatter. So that unit is going to rout. Interesting to me that over here we have very little movement here, which may be why Zagwe is sending troops over here where there is more action in hopes of punching through against the defenders. The attackers do have to cross. They do get more money. As a result, they have more troops, much more troops in this case, since they really up their troop numbers with their unit selections. But they do have to cross in order to win the battle. So the defenders just have to hold for 1 hour. And it looks like they have almost made it to the 20-minute mark so far. And we have these spears forming up here, being charged now, and charging in as well. Now the Armenian swords over here are sort of on their own and being hit from two sides. But these spears cannot help them since they're being blocked off here by the attackers. Interestingly, they do break one of the units, one of the Zagwe units, attacking them, the lighter armor. The rocket cart now actually losing one of its carts, and it looks like this bombard has been wheeled over in the forest.
Our men have given up and are running for their lives.
And I believe that's what happened. It must have taken out one of the rocket carts. That looks to be what happened, because this unit is down to 3 carts out of 4. Meanwhile, some Crusader units breaking here. The Genoese front's still very calm, although the crossbows are moving up into position, trying maybe to fire away. And the Genoese swords just holding the river there in position and formation. And a big shot by the artillery. And a gigantic hit. Look at that, just incinerating the Ilkhanate soldiers here. Persian foot soldiers
cowards,
and Georgian auxiliaries doing the dirty work for the Mongols and just being incinerated here. This mass of men here crushed. 2 units now wavering. And this one unit that was fighting 3, the Armenian swords, look like they're going to pull through here as they break another unit, and they have over 80 kills now, this lightly armored Armenian swords unit. But that was a massive shot by the trebuchet, and it is up to 328 kills. It's earned itself a chevron or an experience point due to all the kills it's gotten. Now the Mongols rallying their men. They ruled through fear, so they've rallied their men, charged back in against these Armenian swordsmen, which have 83 kills but are now shaken because they are just under so much constant pressure. And let's take a quick look over at the other side. This rocket cart with 20 crew members dead. I think they're over here actually. Yep, and 1 cart missing. being wheeled smartly out of range of this bombard. This bombard only with 32 kills, but again doing a terrific job taking out 4 out of 4 of the trebuchet constructs and now taking out 1 out of 4 of the rocket carts. Again, numbers that aren't reflected in the kills but are that very crucial because they've prevented all those kills from those other units. I think that trebuchet died with only 18 kills. As we can see, they can do a lot of damage. But the Mongols just incessantly throwing their auxiliary troops here, trying to force the Crusaders back, battling through this bloody river, and making it even more bloody there with the brutal thrust to the face. The Crusader, oh man, I think he just slashed.
Men are broken and are fleeing.
But that will be, another big hit.
But
the Mongols have pushed through, so that was only a partial hit as that Armenian sword unit finally breaks. Now these spears are in a shield wall formation, and they will at least temporarily hold this Mongol advance as arrows fly overhead. In this brutal river cross battle, they're at the edge of the river now, ankle deep in the water here. Just adding more bodies to the river here. And these archers here from Antioch, with some good numbers, 117 kills here. And they're still firing away. 2 more archer units being pushed up front. And they may be targeting the Turkish archers over here. Yes, that's exactly who they're targeting. We can see by some of these bodies going down. And the snow coming down here on this river as more of the Turkish archers are felled by arrow fire from Antioch. They're going to be ordered back here. So for now, the Crusaders holding here. And a massive amount of bodies strewn across this river here, all in this area here. Now we do have some archers that are completely out of ammunition. 73 kills for this unit that is completely out. I think that might be the first unit that ran out. This one still has a shot or 2, or 3 shots. And Zagwe sending more men here. These are 14th century, so the high era, Gondorian infantry of Zagwe wearing 14th century Zagwe armor. So their more expensive units are now being pushed over here. These do have some ammunition too. So it'll be interesting to see if he just charges them into hand with their superior skills and armor compared to their comrades wearing 13th century armor, or if he tries to use some of their ammunition. It'll be interesting for me to see.
Enemy units have been rallied.
For now, they're going to wait while their lighter armored comrades are... Oh, and they do hurl spears. Yes, and they score a few kills here against the Fulan infantry. So that is an interesting strategy here, and I would say a very good one. But a brutal trebuchet shot, wiping out half of that unit. But as we see, they are hurling their spears and taking out more than a few of these men, basically providing excellent cover for the Mongol-Georgian auxiliaries. But they did lose over 30 men to trebuchet fire. And now it looks like the archers are targeting as well. And this trebuchet shot may be a big miss as the Zagwe troops have moved. And they're trying to push through here, and they've almost made it. Yes, they have pushed through very briefly into the reeds on the side of the riverbank, but a unit of Armenian swords charges them immediately, as does a unit of archers that's completely out of arrows. And they look like they might just cause these Gondorian infantry to waver, now being focus fired by archers too. And they're the only unit that's through, so they do break. And the first elite unit here on the field for the Crusaders, out of the forest, dismounted Antiochian knights. There's 3 units of those. One is beside the general with the most experience points added, the most veteran one, but these 2 less veteran ones. So one of them is here now, wearing 14th century armor. And the Crusaders hold on this riverbank. These archers have went chasing after those spears and run into some Persian foot soldiers. The Armenians here, not sure what they're doing. They might be trying to flank. But maybe not the best move here with those Persian foot soldiers so close by.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful
But the Pulin spearmen
display.
have been activated too to charge in. So we will see what they do. And we have Zagwe pushing here with more Gondorian infantry, wearing their 14th century Zagwe armor. So very interesting that this flank is still so inactive and all the action has been on the other flank. I do see some more bodies here, interestingly enough. Before it was just the artillery crew, but now we have a few more. Let's see who's been doing the killing. It looks like these crossbows have got a bunch of kills, but have now shifted. 3 of them have now shifted over here, and they are just doing that, completing that maneuver. It probably took them a while to get through the snow, but they've shifted over here just as the Antioch archers are very low on ammo, some of them out and in hand-to-hand, like this unit here with 142 kills. Now in hand-to-hand trying to score even more. And a unit breaks the spears. Possibly opening the river here, but we have the dismounted Antiochian knights closing the gap
Our men
immediately
return to the fight.
with a brutal charge. And let's take a look at how these high-era European knights are going to do. Whoops. In hand-to-hand against the lighter armored Mongol auxiliary troops. So on the right we have these Knights of Antioch here, and on the left we have the Georgian auxiliaries wearing 13th century armor, and that was just, and another big hit by a trebuchet in the
Our
back.
men run from the enemy. This is shameful.
But look at that. Just some brutality here by these Crusader knights here on the right. And we're going to enjoy this in cinematic view, guys. But too many of the Mongol
The
auxiliaries
enemy have rallied their units.
are fleeing now, and they've lost their courage. The Armenian footmen were broken here. The knights with 4 men dead. And now some
Our men are
better
rallying.
armored
They're not
Pavi
done yet.
spears being pushed in here too. So 2 elite units now holding this gate. Obviously the knights being more elite, but these Pavi spears also wearing 14th century armor and with the Pavi shields. So now in a covering themselves from arrow fire overhead, but in a much better position, able to hold this river here. They've moved to the very mouth of the river, and they're both in shield wall here. The knights as well. And these Pavi shields are holding against some Persian foot soldiers, the light melee infantry. So let's take a look at this battle in cinematic view. Now the Pavi spears They're not going to score a ton of kills, but what they can do is hold. They can hold the line. That's what they're being asked to do here. And the archers overhead helping out as well, but from both sides the arrow fire coming in. And that Mongol rocket car moving forward again, still with 0 kills, and down 1 out of its 4 units, but the other 3 having full ammunition. And Zagwe just sending all their men over here. For now, Genoa has only supplied crossbows, and only half of its crossbows. And we do see these Genoese crossbows firing away. Now the Crusaders, not sure if they should attack or not. We have more Mongol handgunners.
Stand and fight, damn you!
On the side, and a nice shot there into the Pavi spears, and that's going to take a chunk out of them. Well, they are breaking the morale of their own units as well as the Pavi spearmen. So good use by the Mongol handgunners, and he's pulling them out right away because he does see that trebuchet here with 512 kills already, guys. Tremendous numbers for this trebuchet. Ammunition running low though, still with some bite left, but not too much. And we do have this bombard here, 32 kills, and we have a rocket car moving in, guys. So the artillery now in this sort of chess match being just very key, what you do with your opportunity with the artillery. Everyone has a limited window. Turkish archers being pushed forward. Actually, these are the 14th century archers from Zagwe coming in, but just a rocket car with a massive AoE damage going after some of the crossbows, but also targeting the trebuchet. Also targeting this trebuchet. This trebuchet will fire away one of its last shots, and a brilliant hit here, breaking this unit of Persian soldiers and causing the second unit of Persian soldiers to waver here. And it does break too. The dismounted Antiochi Knights finish them off. They have 126 kills already with half.
Enemy units have returned to the battle.
Some of these units will come back, but with one shot, that was 65 kills for the trebuchet. And now it's down to one last shot. So tremendous numbers here for this trebuchet. Actually 60, well, what was it, 512? Yeah, 65 kills. So 577. And now this Armenian swords unit going to break, but we have a unit of dismounted Antiochi Knights that are wavering with almost 150 kills. And a second unit here in play. So the Antiochi Knights are both in play. We only have that elite veteran unit that's left. And a shot overhead and a hit here against the high era handgunners. So a big hit by the trebuchet, and that was the last shot. That was the last shot, but 18 kills against that unit here. 595 kills on the day, earning 2 experience points. So now the artillery crew will no doubt be thrown into the battle, which is what I like to do. Once they've earned a few chevrons, they can do a little better in hand-to-hand. So you rest them up a little bit and then you throw them into hand-to-hand.
A unit is running for the enemy!
And maybe they give you a few more kills. Maybe this unit will get to 600, which would be tremendous. I mean, in this battle where a full infantry unit is 120, if you get 600 kills, I mean, that is basically taking out 5 full units of infantry, which you take every single time. It's very good numbers. But look at this river, guys. It's just full of bodies and just flooded here. Bodies and blood everywhere. It's red now. The river is red. And this crossing point. This this is just a scene of total brutality. And the reason for that is there's all these troops funneling in here. And now the artillery crew getting moved up here. And this unit of Pavian spearmen ready to hold against some Persian foot soldiers that are charging through this bloody mess and through some arrows here at this unit of spears here in a shield wall in a testudo formation. And it looks like they have broken them. Yes, this unit of Persians breaking and running. The artillery crew managing to score a kill here somewhere, but pulling back. And the chess match continues, guys. The defenders with very little artillery left. There is this one bombard unit, and it seems to be trying to push in, while the rocket cart is on the side here, finally scoring its first kill, trying to avoid the bombard. And they're now winded, so they've been pushing these carts across, but looking for a good shot here. And the bowmen of Zagwe are here in the front now. Some of them taking fire from crossbows.
The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing!
And some of them giving fire here. Yeah, we can see them going down. The defenders with a few Antioch archers and a few Genoese crossbowmen here firing back. And again, this is a bit of a ranged phase here as the infantry takes a breather on both sides. Now this infantry in the front row has to keep their guard up and keep their shields up because of all the incoming missiles. And arrows being fired from both sides. This archer unit being targeted. They only have 19 kills. This one was 62. Also firing down.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a
and this unit breaks, but it does reform. So a ranged war happening here. These units with extra experience points for Zagwe moving up and firing away again. And it seems to be the archers that they are targeting.
Remember your loved ones. Do not save them.
But this archer unit firing away at those archers of Zagwe.
Warrior Marcasio! The guards will look after the dead!
Fire! Bring more guns down!
Let's hear you, lads! My mother can do better!
There we can see them a little better. We have one unit possibly breaking here. And more going down. And maybe the attackers have had enough of that because they have just under 20 minutes to win this battle. So here we go with Zagwe pushing up. This side here, still at a standstill. So Zagwe is pushing from this end here, and Antioch raining down with their archers, some of which are wavering, some of which are not. Trying to rain down shots on these hybrid spear units from Zagwe. The Genoese crossbows off the hill also providing some cover. And we see that on the right there. And a rocket cart overhead. Rocket cart fire. And the javelins now being hurled at the defenders. The artillery crew here in combat and 603 kills already, so they've proven to be well worth their salt. The Pavi spears are being charged into this unit to prevent them from using all their ranged javelins, but as a result they've broken formation, taking a lot of damage. They're going to waver.
Our men have given up and are run. Enemy
Dismounted
units have rallied
Antiochian
and
knights with
returned
their
to the
shields
battle.
up and their armor excellent, but now they're being charged. Let's enjoy cinematic view, guys. As the troops of Zagwe, wearing their 14th century Zagwe armor, take on the European Crusaders wearing 14th century Crusader armor, and just adding more blood to this river there with a beautiful slash to the neck.
The men have thrown down their weapons.
Men of
and are
Zagwe
fleeing.
fighting bravely here, trying to push through this river. The defenders just trying to hold for another 16 minutes or so. But they're using their reserves now, their elite troops to hold. Some of these Crusaders are just covered in blood already, and oh, that one goes down. And it looks like the Turkopol archers that are out are also being thrown into this fight. Yes, this unit with 87 range kills is now in hand-to-hand. And a Templar Knight unit has been deployed as well to help out the Antiochian Knights here in the river, who have 135 kills. This Templar unit with 44 kills, and sort of just sitting there after it broke one unit to catch a breather and just immediately attack, not allowed to rest by these Persian foot soldiers. And that, I think, was a missed opportunity by me to use the charge of these Templars. So for sure a mistake there by myself. The Templars have a great charge that you can use. Now it's not a cavalry charge, but for infantry they're one of the best. They're two-handed weapons just charging into the fray. But they do break this unit regardless, and they've broken another unit. This light Persian infantry. With 70 kills now, the Templars fight on, and the dismounted Antiochian Knights as well, pressing into the fray. Taking on some Zagwe spear infantry, wearing the 13th century Zagwe armor, so very lightly armored by comparison. You can tell by the bare feet. And just a ton of carnage in this battle, guys. This river just so bloody at this stage, so many bodies strewn about, with just so much blood in the river. That's not going to wash away for a long time. I have never seen a river battle this bloody. I mean, this bloody. It is just covered in bodies and blood everywhere you look. The entire opening. And look at this guy. No helmet, just a giant cleaver. We lose him. There he is. Doing some good sword work in close. So there's two of them. And one gets a kill. Love it. Oh, these are the Bombard crew. The Bombard is now out of ammo. I wonder who it shot at last. Did it shoot at... Oh yes, it took out two more of the rocket cards as we weren't looking. So the rocket card, 1 out of 4 men. This is the last artillery piece on the field. Now it does have 12 kills, but that Bombard crew did a good job. I mean, only 59 kills, which is not a lot, but it took out a trebuchet unit before it did too much damage, and then it took out 3/4 of that rocket cart unit by the looks of it. So very good job by this Bombard crew. Obviously, the trebuchet for the defenders doing a tremendous job. So we have overall the defenders making very good use of their artillery. Now these Templars are rallying. They have 132 men left. and they're being thrown back in there, but they're not going to hold for a while. Crossbows, this unit with 383 kills, so Suicidal Moose with some great work here for Genoa. The Templars are back in the fray with scoring some more kills on the charge, but they're going to be overrun really quickly here. And just in the nick of time, maybe just in the nick of time, or maybe they're too late, because they're trudging through the snow here. Genoa finally sending some reserves over from their infantry. And they do block off the river, just in the nick of time. And these Armenian footmen are winded, and they realize that they're not going to have an easy flank here. But they will charge. Or won't they? For now, they seem content to just surround and slaughter that bombard crew. And this... Oh man, that's a big hit by the rocket cart. Right there. Causing these Antioch Knights to waver. They already have 213 kills.
The men are broken and running for their lives.
I definitely got my money's worth there. Now the defenders not holding. Finally, the Genoese. Oh yes, they are. They are going to hold. They're just warming up at the shield wall, and the attackers charging right into that shield wall, and not giving them a moment's rest after that long march here. The defenders throwing in everything, some crossbows, but mostly these sword infantry, Genoa, which I believe are, yes, wearing 13th century armor. They're just medium melee infantry. Not the strongest unit, but certainly better armored than some of those Zagwe troops wearing open face helmets, or some of them with no helmets and with chainmail. And the rocket cart pelts them relentlessly, but there's only one left out of 4. So they can kind of just try to fight through it. And the troops of Genoa now getting Antioch a bit of a breather in this very bloody river battle, guys. What a battle. Just no rest at all on this side of the river here, guys. The attackers know that they have to push through and secure victory before too long, or time will run out.
The enemy refuses to admit defeat. Their unit has rallied.
The Mongol hordes now working with Zagwe, try to do everything. Hurling javelins, firing arrows, sending in their swordsmen and their spears, trying to punch a hole through this wall of Crusader and Genoese men. And the river just, oh, look at that. And arrows flitting in overhead as well. And this is a massive, massive push. Now these units are using some of their ammunition here to try to fire through, and the rocket cart firing in overhead. We have the last unit of these dismounted Templars, and all that's left here are those 2 very elite units for Antioch. After those other Templars are gone, we have this unit of very veteran, experienced Templars wearing 14th century armor with the extra experience points, and the same type or same level, same skill level of veteran unit of the Antioch Knights. So 2 elite infantry units here with the general kind of hidden in the trees here. We have cavalry and 1 unit, and that's it for Antioch. But we do have a charge here by the Knights of Antioch. So let's see what happens. Now they are charging through, as well as the slightly lighter men-at-arms, mounted men-at-arms. And that is a big charge here against Zagwe. And those lighter spears of Zagwe are going to be just absolutely crushed. And the Knights of Antioch attacking some ranged units here, just bowling through them, guys. And doing a great number on them here. Now with their melee weapons out, these Knights, after using their lances. and just ramming into this 14th century bow unit and killing 2/3 of it. But they absorbed a lot of fire here. This knight unit, or not knight, excuse me, men-at-arm unit, having ran into spears. This one here trying to pick off some archers and getting some of these archers. Over here, breaking a
The men have thrown down their
wounded
weapons
spear
and are
unit.
fleeing.
So some great cav work here, and that allows these Genoese to punch a hole through and get through the attacking side of it over here, guys. This must have been very unexpected for the attackers. To have Genoa do this after coordinating cav movements here with the Knights of Antioch. And the Mongols are getting involved now. The actual Mongols, the Mongolian units, are going to try and skirt through this
The enemy
wilderness
have rallied
here
their units.
and get in a little closer to the action and charge these Genoese men-at-arms. And there they go. The heavily armored 14th century Mongol horsemen are going to cause these Genoese cavalry to break. And that 14th century armor for these Mongol armor, helping them out 13 kills on the charge, causing this unit to break, and now they will try to rout this infantry here. The Genoese, though, taking the opportunity to move up their crossbows and get some free crossbow kills, and they do have another line of defense here with the infantry here. And the Knights of Antioch, the two remaining cavalry, have moved in here. Meanwhile, on this side, now the Mongols committing more, their Khan moving, as well as their last cavalry over to that side. This side here, we only have one missile unit, and it's out of ammo. 378 kills, a ridiculous number of kills for a crossbow unit. But it does break, and it is off the field. So there's one Templar unit left here, and the elite reserves, the veterans, have moved in here. The highest skill level troops to hold this side. But over here, we do have some action. The King of Zagwe may be faced with some Knights of Antioch very soon. Let's try to get up closer to the action. Here we go. And he does run. He does run. So the Knights of Antioch have punched in against some archers here. More movement here on the side as they're trying to sneak through. The King of Zagwe moving in again, and a counter charge. Both sides crashing in. Some archers caught in between here, shaken already. Knights of Antioch here trying to cycle charge. And they're going to go for the king. The spears are rushing to help the king, but he's up against some very heavily armored knights. And he is wavering. And this knight unit may be trying to go for the kill. And they do charge in. And it looks like that might be it. So the King of Zagwe, is it it? Or does he live? There he is, he's wavering. The Khan now involved. But the King of Zagwe is still alive, and he falls. The King of Zagwe is fallen. The Khan is charged in with his personal guard. Too late to save his comrade. And he's up against some Antioch Knights. Let's enjoy this. In cinematic view, guys. The Mongols of Persia here, the Mongols of the Ilkhanate are facing off against the Knights of Antioch.
Our men have given up
On
and
the
are
other side
running
of
for
the
their
river.
lives.
And it does look like... Let's break that. Sorry for that. It does look like the Knights of Antioch are going to break on this side, as well as the Genoese, with the Mongol Khan with some very deft moves here.
Our allies have
Like
fled,
Billy the
the
Kid,
cowards.
routing those knight units. 35 kills here. So very good work. But I think the Knights accomplished their job, and these crossbows have just now gone from the 50s to the hundreds in their amount of kills. And they are not letting up here, wiping out another Mongol
Our
cavalry
men have
unit.
regrouped!
So a unit of knights here regrouping. The Mongol Khan with a charge to wipe out some infantry. Tremendous charge here, bowling them over here.
Enemy units have returned to the battle!
And the last knights of Antioch hurl themselves against him. What a battle, guys. Meanwhile, the crossbows are doing everything they can to kill the Khan of the Mongols. And a
broken
flurry
and are fleeing!
of arrows here takes out half of his retinue. Does he live? Yes. With 83 kills and just being shelled, he lives with just over half of his retinue. And these other Mongol horsemen are going to charge. Well, they're going to sort of break here. That was a very weak charge. Although the retired horses
Forces
here
have found
in the
their
water,
courage! Back to the
they
fight!
do get a few kills on the charge, but very few, and they do break. So they've shattered completely this Mongol cavalry. And only the Khan is left. Now, he only got away with 14, it looks like, after the crossbows were done with him. Man, now over here we do have some nav throwers moving sneakily into position, and everything is being committed here. The general, the knight commanding Antioch, with a big charge here against some handgunners, now being swarmed by spearmen. We do have the Knights of Antioch committed over here. This elite knight unit over here, in hand-to-hand, guys. And they are cleaving men apart. We see them on the right. Against lighter armored Zagwe troops, and they do break a unit already. With 31 kills and very few deaths. The nav throwers have been attacked here, and it looks like possibly a mass rout. Just too many deaths here on the enemy side. The attackers only 166 left out of 8,000, and 1,200 left for the allies here. The general being hurled in, and this river just full of blood and bodies. And it looks like the defenders do hold, guys. Wow, what a game. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Tremendous game, tremendous plays on both sides. Bit of a chess match, bit of fireworks, a little bit of everything, guys. That was our first 5-star battle. We hope to bring you more. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see if we have any stats available for this battle here. All right, so we'll start with the army of Antioch here, controlled by Knight, yours truly. So the general with 106 kills, mostly involved at the end with a big charge. This elite unit of Templars with 194. I think this was excellent use of this unit, probably scoring a ton on the charge that we didn't see, and only a few deaths, which is very good. The other two shock infantry also getting us some good kills here. 114 for the defenders, 146 over here, so very good use of the shock. Now the heavy melee infantry, again, this unit, 77 kills and pretty much fully alive. Very few deaths, if any. So very good use of this reserve unit as well, just like this unit, which lost a few. Now, this unit obviously alive and well at the end of the battle. These two units, which were taken off the field and wiped out, with more kills, 213 and 149. So overall, the heavy melee of the Europeans, being used very well, the 14th century armor, and the 14th century armor of the Templars as well. We have a surprising number of kills for this early era Apulan Spearman unit with 137. But again, a lot of those were very cheap troops. These elites had to face off with, well, the Mongol elites and the elites of the Zagwe kingdom, the troops in 14th century armor. These guys were up against Karash and against troops wearing the 13th century armor. But still, very good numbers, 137, 107, 71. And then worse numbers over here, 49 and 38. The 14th century spears with 66 kills. Not a great number for a unit of 120 men. But again, they're not really there for racking up kills. They're more there for holding position. Now, if I remember correctly, they were gunned down by some Mongol fire lancers, which is why maybe their numbers aren't as good and they were completely wiped out. The Armenian swordsmen wearing 13th century armor, the early era armor, also completely wiped out, but surprisingly getting decent numbers, 88 kills, 96 kills, and 108 kills. The archers doing pretty well for Antioch, but maybe not as well as they could have. Some units with elite numbers, 169 here, 142 here, and these two with decent numbers, 89 and 91, and these two units with poor numbers. So kind of a mixed batch here, 34 and 21. Now the Knights of Antioch, the mounted knights, some units with, again, good numbers, like this unit here with 103 kills, but these two units maybe not doing as well on the surface, 53 kills and 80 kills, but they did get the general of Zagwe off the field, so sort of sacrificing themselves in a sense, one of these units. The other one maybe just with a poorer showing. And then finally we have the artillery for Antioch, 610 kills for the artillery. Now I do believe that is going to be the highest number in this game for either team, if I can confirm. Yeah, the Suicidal Moose with a bit less, Billy with a bit less, and with Zagwe with much less. So yeah, that 610 kills was very good use of this artillery unit for Antioch. Now the Genoese here, we have Suicidal Moose controlling the Republic of Genoa. His general with 0 kills. He did lose a bunch, maybe a third of his unit, to artillery fire at the beginning, where Zagwe managed to hit his unit with a fire shot and kill 11 of the general's bodyguard. But not using your general is not always a bad thing. It means oftentimes you won the battle, so the rest of that unit survived. 0 kills, though. The swords here, his early era or 13th century swords, pretty poor numbers overall, 33, 57, 36. This unit did a little better, 75. And all these units are wiped out. Now these two units with 1 kill each were still alive at the end of the battle. So that's a good thing, obviously, for the defenders. This unit, 46 kills, again, a bit weaker and 57 kills. Now these men-at-arms, maybe a little better performance, 107 kills here, some men left surviving. And these two units with no kills, but completely surviving the battle. Now we have high era men-at-arms. Because they're wearing the high era armor, I do expect more kills here, and unfortunately he did not do well. Not terrible numbers though, 56 and 90 kills here, but not nearly as good as the infantry of Antioch, I would say, overall here for the Genoese. Now what he did have going for him are the crossbows with tremendous numbers here, guys. Now he put 6 experience points each. That's a lot of gold into each of these units, which are already heavy crossbow units with 14th century armor, or the high era crossbows, the heavy crossbows. So they were already pretty good units to begin with, and just pumping more experience points into them. He had a lot of gold in these units, and they had to really rack up the kills to prove themselves worth it. And I think they absolutely did that. 107 here, which was actually the lowest, and then 113, 118, and 390 kills here, guys. That is just tremendous work. 2 other units in the 300s, or 371 and 378. So very good use of the heavy crossbows here in a river crossing, and he's gotten me to rethink about how to use crossbows in a river crossing battle, because some of them do have a bit less range than the bows, and they need better line of sight. And in a river cross, sometimes you just don't get that line of sight. So I was never a fan of crossbows there, more than maybe 1 unit on the field, but this has maybe caused me to rethink that a little bit, because this is tremendous numbers, guys. His mounted men-at-arms, again, decent numbers, especially considering they have 13th century armor, 85 kills and 123 kills. Now, disappointing numbers for his artillery, only 65 units killed, but remember, he did take out the trebuchet of Zagwe completely off the field when it only got a handful of kills, before he managed to do that. So overall, a pretty good performance with his artillery too. So that's it for the defenders, guys. Now, the attackers here, we have Billy the Kid. The attackers here on the losing side, yeah, we have Billy the Kid here, his Khan with 85 kills, and I believe he may have survived the battle with just a couple of his bodyguards, but he did break as the whole army routed and got off the field. But I think the Khan managed to survive. He did get 85 kills, and that is a pretty good number for the general. It looks like it was the best number on the attackers and the second best in the game behind my general. So 85 kills and some good work with his general. On the spears, these are the Georgian auxiliaries wearing the 13th century armor, the early era armor. As you can see, not very good numbers. Really just chewed up by the archers of Antioch and by the artillery. And then the few that made it to the other end, they were dealt with pretty quickly by the spears and swords waiting for them over there on the Crusader side. So these numbers a little bit worse here. 20, 0, 1, 0. Actually very poor numbers here. And then a little better as we go on, 42, 47, and 10. He does have some of the elite spears of the Mongols here, the Tserig spearmen, wearing 14th century armor. However, this unit doing very poorly, 25 and wiped out. This unit, only 13 kills, but it was still alive at the end of the battle. It just broke with the rest of the army. So still some potential there. Now the Karesh, well, what can you say? They don't have any weapons, and they got 0 kills, and most of them died. So that was pretty expected. And we have some Persian foot soldiers here, the the early era sword units in the Ilkhanate army working for the Khan. And these Persian foot soldiers with 85 kills here, very good for an early era unit in a high era battle. Only 30 kills here, 39, 2, 4. Another good number here, 69. And then the rest very low here, 8 kills, 3 kills, and 18 kills. He has more 13th century armored units or early era units with these Armenian footmen. And kind of a mixed batch here, 25, so not so good, 76, so pretty good. And then most of them with low numbers here in 12 and 11, just you need more kills than that if you want to win the battle. Now his archers, not bad numbers at all, and most of these are actually archer kills from what I recall. This unit doing very well, 103 kills, 64, 71. The Fire Lancers, unfortunately, with their low range and being targeted by artillery, only 15 kills. He did have 2 handgunner units. Now these units did very well, 85 kills, 104 kills. And with those guns, they actually also caused a big morale penalty. So they may have caused even more units to break that they didn't actually kill. And the Mongol cavalry paying off, doing very well here. They have some experience points added. They got 140 kills, 95 kills, so very good cav numbers. I wonder if those were the best cav numbers that we saw in the battle here. Yeah, it looks like my cav are pretty comparable, but probably I would give the edge to Billy there. And yeah, he may have actually outdone everyone here with the cav. So only 2 cav units on the field, but getting his bang for his buck with those cav units and getting a good number of kills here, 140 and 95. The NAFTA throwers, 50 kills here, not bad, but the unit wiped out. Only 8 here, but the unit's still alive at the end of the battle. And then he has a rocket cart with 47 kills, and I mean, not good numbers, obviously, but I think being targeted by Genoa's artillery is really what kept those numbers down. Guys, so there you have it, our first 5-star battle. We went over all the stats as well for you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you have any great replays that you think might qualify for 5-star battles, send them in. I would love to see them. We'll see you guys next time with more medieval battles here with Midnight Games Online.